Carrick was a lone wolf. He roamed the foothills alone. The forest was his domain. Solitude was his companion. He was strong and silent. He hunted with precision. He survived by his own cunning. The other wolves kept their distance. He preferred it that way. He had seen the fleeting nature of pack loyalty. He trusted no one. Carrick was content in his solitude, or so he believed. One crisp autumn evening he caught a scent. It was unfamiliar, alluring. He followed the scent. It led him to a clearing. There, beneath a canopy of crimson leaves, stood a she-wolf. Her coat was the colour of winter snow. Her eyes shone like twin sapphires. This was Akshom. He was captivated. He had never encountered such beauty. Akshom seemed unafraid. She met his gaze with a quiet confidence. For the first time, Carrick felt a flicker of warmth in his chest. It was a feeling he had long forgotten. They began to hunt together. Their teamwork was flawless. They brought down prey with effortless grace. They shared their spoils without a second thought. As the days turned colder, they found a cave. It was sheltered from the wind and snow. It became their den, their sanctuary. They would lie together for warmth. At night they would gaze at the stars. Akshom would tell stories of the constellations. Carrick would listen, mesmerized. He had never felt so alive. Winter descended upon the forest. It brought with it a harsh, unforgiving cold. Food became scarce. The forest grew quiet. One day, Carrick returned to their den. Akshom was gone. He searched for her scent. It was faint, but it led away from their territory. He followed the trail. Panic gnawed at his heart. He had never felt this fear before. The scent led him to a ridge overlooking a valley, and there in the valley he saw her, Akshom. But she was not alone. Standing beside Akshom was another wolf. This wolf was not just any ordinary member of the pack. He was a figure of immense power and authority, a presence that commanded respect and fear in equal measure. His name was Gorksan, and his reputation preceded him. He was larger than Carrick, stronger. His muscles rippled beneath his thick fur, a testament to the countless battles he had fought and won. Gorksan was a warrior, a leader, and he carried himself with the confidence of one who knew his place at the top of the hierarchy. His fur was the colour of midnight, and his eyes burned with ambition. Those eyes, sharp and piercing, seemed to see through everything and everyone. They were the eyes of a wolf who had seen much, endured much, and emerged victorious. This was Gorksan, the leader of a large pack. His pack was known far and wide for their strength and unity, a force to be reckoned with in the wild. Under his leadership, they had thrived, their territory expanding with each passing season. Carrick watched, his blood turning to ice as Akshom nuzzled against Gorksan. The sight was like a dagger to his heart, each affectionate gesture between them twisting the blade deeper. He had always known Akshom to be affectionate, but seeing her with Gorksan was something he had never anticipated. He saw the look in her eyes. It was a look of admiration, of respect, and something more. It was a look that spoke of deep connection and understanding, a look that Carrick had once believed was reserved for him alone. It was the same look she had given him, the look that had made him feel special, chosen. But now, that look was directed at another, and it shattered his heart into 1,000 pieces. Only now it held a new intensity, an intensity that spoke of a bond forged in the fires of shared experiences and mutual respect. It was a bond that Carrick could not compete with, no matter how much he wished otherwise. The warmth in his chest gave way to a chilling emptiness. He had been betrayed. The realization hit him like a thunderclap, leaving him reeling. He had opened his heart to Akshom, trusted her with his deepest feelings, only to be cast aside for another. The lone wolf who had opened his heart was left with nothing but the bitter sting of abandonment. He felt a profound sense of loss, a void that seemed to swallow him whole. The forest around him, once a place of solace and comfort, now felt cold and unwelcoming. He turned away, the image of Akshom and Gorksan seared into his memory. It was a sight he knew he would never be able to forget, no matter how much he tried. The pain was too deep, the betrayal too raw. He would never forget this pain. It would stay with him, a constant reminder of the trust he had placed in Akshom and the heartbreak that had followed. But even in his sorrow, there was a flicker of resolve. He would survive this just as he had survived everything else. And one day, he would find a way to heal the scars of betrayal. Section 6. A heart turned to ice. Carrick retreated back into the solitude he once knew, but it was different now. It was no longer a choice, but a prison. The pain of betrayal had hardened him. He became even more solitary, even more ruthless. He hunted, he survived, but the joy was gone. He would often find himself back at the ridge. He would watch Gorksan's pack from afar. He would see Akshom, but she never looked his way. His heart, once warmed by love, had turned to ice. It would never thaw. Section 7. Echoes of What Was. He still dreamed of Akshom. In these dreams, they were back in their den. The fire was warm, the snow fell silently outside. They were content. But then he would wake. The cold reality of his empty den would wash over him. The echoes of her laughter, once a comfort, now mocked him. He pushed the memories down. They were a weakness he could not afford. He was a lone wolf once more. He would survive as he always had. But a part of him was forever broken. Section 8. The Law of the Wild. He told himself it was the law of the wild. Only the strong survived. In the unforgiving wilderness, strength was the currency of life. Every creature, from the smallest insect to the mightiest predator, lived by this unspoken rule. The weak perished and the strong thrived. It was a harsh reality, but it was the only one they knew. Akshom had made her choice. She had always been a creature of instinct, driven by an inner compass that pointed her towards survival. The wilderness was her home, and she knew its rules well. She had seen others falter and fall, and she had vowed never to be one of them. She chose power, security, the pack. The pack was her fortress, her shield against the dangers that lurked in the shadows. With them, she felt invincible. They moved as one, hunted as one, and fought as one. In the pack, she found a sense of belonging, a purpose that went beyond mere survival. He knew he could have fought Gorksan. The thought had crossed his mind many times. Gorksan was strong, but so was he. A battle between them would have been fierce, a clash of titans. But what would it have achieved? Would it have brought him the peace he sought, or would it have only led to more bloodshed? He could have challenged him for Akshom's affections. But what then? Even if he had one, would Akshom have truly been his? Or would she have always looked at him with resentment, a constant reminder of the violence that had brought them together? Love born of conflict was a fragile thing, easily shattered by the weight of its own history. Would she have been happy? Happiness was a rare commodity in the wild. It was fleeting, like a shadow that danced just out of reach. He wondered if Akshom would have found joy in a life with him, or if she would have always yearned for something more, something he could never give her, or would she have always yearned for the strength of the pack? The pack was her family, her anchor in a world of chaos. Without them, she would have been adrift, lost in the vast expanse of the wilderness. He knew that no matter how much he loved her, he could never replace the bond she shared with her pack. In the end, he chose to let her go. It was the hardest decision he had ever made, but he knew it was the right one. Love was not about possession, but about understanding and respect. He respected her choice, even if it meant losing her forever. It was a sign of his strength, he told himself, not weakness. True strength lay in the ability to let go, to accept the things we cannot change. He stood tall, his heart heavy but his spirit unbroken. The moon watched over him, a silent witness to his silent resolve. He would never make the mistake of loving again. Love was a dangerous game, one that he was no longer willing to play. As he walked away, he felt a sense of peace, knowing that he had done the right thing. The wilderness stretched out before him, a vast and endless journey, and he was ready to face it alone. Section 9. The Lone Wolf's Howl. Years passed, and the forest witnessed the changing of seasons, each one leaving its mark on the land. The once vibrant and energetic wolf Carrick began to show signs of age. His once sleek and powerful frame now moved with a slower, more deliberate grace. Karak grew old, his fur streaked with grey. The years had not been kind to him, and the weight of his experiences was evident in every step he took. His once bright eyes, which had sparkled with the fire of youth, now held a deep, sombre wisdom. But his eyes, once filled with warmth, remained cold and distant. They were the eyes of a wolf who had seen too much, who had felt the sting of betrayal and the ache of loss. The forest around him seemed to echo his inner turmoil, the rustling leaves whispering secrets of the past. Every full moon, he would climb to the highest peak. It was a ritual he had followed for years, a way to connect with the memories that haunted him. The climb was arduous, but it was a journey he undertook with a sense of purpose, as if reaching the summit would bring him closer to the answers he sought. He would raise his head and unleash a mournful howl. The sound would pierce the stillness of the night, carrying with it the weight of his sorrow. It was a howl that spoke of a heart that had been broken, of dreams that had been shattered. It was a sound filled with loss, with regret, with the echo of a love that had once burned brightly but had been extinguished by the harsh realities of life. Each note of his howl was a testament to the pain he carried within him, a pain that time had not been able to heal, with the echo of a love betrayed. The valley would catch his cry and send it back, a haunting reminder of the love that had once been his. The sound waves seemed to ripple through the air, touching everything in their path with a sense of melancholy. It was a sound that spoke of the harsh realities of the wild. The wilderness was unforgiving, and Karak had learned this lesson the hard way. The snowy landscape around him mirrored the coldness he felt inside, a stark contrast to the warmth he had once known. It was a sound that spoke of the enduring pain of a heart forever frozen. The full moon would cast its pale light on him, illuminating the desolate field where he stood. His howl would rise into the night, a cry of anguish that seemed to freeze the very air around him. Karak, the lone wolf, would roam the foothills alone until his final days. The misty landscape would envelop him, a silent companion to his solitary journey. He moved with a sense of purpose, as if each step was a part of a larger story that only he could understand. His howl would serve as a reminder to all who heard it, a reminder of the fragility of life and the fleeting nature of happiness. The other animals would listen, their ears perked up, as if they too could feel the weight of his sorrow. Love, in the wild, could burn as coldly as the winter wind. The snowy, windy landscape would be his final resting place, a fitting end for a wolf who had known both the warmth of love and the coldness of loss. His breath, visible in the cold air, would be his last testament to a life lived with passion and pain.